rap battle.
Good evening and welcome to D-Infinity Live, Volume 19, Top 10 Board Games. My name is Robert Groover, and you're watching the multi-platform, multi-publisher show to entertain and amuse you. Welcome our co-host tonight. Good evening, Will
Hey.
Thrasher. Good to have you on the show tonight. And, of course, Richard Balsley. Good evening, Richard.
Hello.
And last but definitely not least, we have Michael Varhola. Good evening, Mike.
Evening.
So we're going to get right down to it tonight, boys and girls. We have a lot to cover in the next 30 minutes or so. So we're going to talk about our top board games. Now, what we've done behind the scenes is to pick, each of us picks 2 games that we really like. Then from the extras and so on, we've picked 2 additionals. That gives us 10. We also have an honorable mention that we'll talk about in just a few minutes. But I'm going to start with our first game of the night. This is Mike's game. He picked Risk 2210. It's published by the Wizards of the Coast version of Avalon Hill and was designed by Rob Daview. Mike, why do you like Risk 2210 better than Basic Risk?
Well, I was raised on Basic Risk and thought it was a great game. I think the first time I ever played Basic Risk was, when I was 7. So I've been playing it for nearly 40 years now. But one of the criticisms of traditional Risk is that a certain number of scenarios are predominant. Somebody will seize Australia, and they'll jam up a bunch of troops in Indonesia, and then basically somebody has to make a suicidal attack to break in and wipe them out. If you try to grab Asia at the beginning of the game, you can't win, etc., etc. So it's limited in what you can do with it. And Risk 2210 really takes that to the next level. It opens up some new seaways. It opens up the idea of lunar colonies and sea colonies. It introduces the concept of commanders, and it introduces cards that can be collected for victories and then used to do things like put secret troops on a space that's being attacked. So there is a whole other element, I won't say of chance, there's really a whole other element of strategy that they've added to this game that keeps it from bogging down in the traditional ways and really lets you just take it to the next level. So it's a fun game, and it's a really, really, really well done game, and it allows for people to pick many different types of strategies and adopt one that works well for them.
Yeah, and I've played various other versions. I played Risk Godstorm pretty heavily, which is a lot of fun. I've played, of course, Basic Risk, so it's that's interesting. I think 2210 is something I'll pick up soon. So excited about that. So let's go on to our next game we're going to talk about this evening, and this one's from Richard, and it's probably one of the oldest games in the world, chess. Richard, why is chess one of your picks? It seems like we're all picking nerd games, and you're picking old school. Tell us about it.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's chess. It's a classic, and for many reasons. One of which is that it's a game of perfect information, which I think a lot of newer games have gone away from. And there's a good reason for that. But chess is a very important game in what it teaches you. And so there, you can try these different strategies. There's so many different combinations of positions for all the pieces in a board for a game to evolve and all these other things that it would be impossible to exhaust every possible position, in any one person's lifetime. So for that reason alone, I think it deserves to be on the list. And then when you factor in all the things it teaches in terms of math, strategy. You're actually trying to outthink your opponent. So it's more of one of those games where you really have to think about a lot of things at once. So it's math, economics, is it worth sacrificing this piece for a position, that kind of stuff. And so I think that a lot of the games that we play today owe a lot to chess and games like that. And for that reason, if no other, it deserves to be on the list.
Yeah, and that's all good points. I met my wife over a chessboard pretty much, so that's been a big part of my life. Have either Mike or Will, have either of you played chess extensively at all in your lives?
I wouldn't say extensively, only I kind of missed out on chess because my first experience with chess was very, very negative. The person who tried to teach me chess, I discovered, was intentionally teaching me the wrong rules so that I could never win. And then I stayed away from chess for about 15 years and then a friend of mine, Margaret Galicia, who's illustrated for D Infinity before, introduced me to chess again and taught me the real rules, and I really, really enjoyed it. So I've been cheated out of some great chess time.
And how about you, Mike?
Well, I used to play chess. I've been sort of ruined by RPGs now. So, in a sense, the whole idea that it doesn't really matter if you win or lose, it's all about the story. Man, that's the antithesis of chess. So the whole idea of chess is sort of, I don't really like chess as a game, but I like the imagery of chess. So if you take a look at my Adventures in Wonderland book, I've taken all of the chess pieces and turned them into D20 creatures. So I love the imagery of chess. I like the idea of chess. I like putting chess into stories. I just wouldn't play it on a bet.
And one of the pieces of trivia that I picked up was the modern rules for chess were codified in around 1475, but there was a predecessor game in India known as Chaturanga, which was developed in the 6th century, very of the Common Era. So very interesting. And we're going to move on to our next game. We're going to let me talk just real quickly about chess. I spoke with Leo at Dungeon Stone. He's one of our fans. He was talking with me about the board games. He says you can't have a board game show unless you talk about games like Monopoly. You talk about games like Scrabble, the games that have lasted for so long in our culture. You know, Monopoly is a very big game in our culture too, and I think that's a very good point. Those games aren't on our list, but definitely wanted Leo to have his word tonight and make sure that we talked about Monopoly and Scrabble a little. And we're going to move on to one of our combined games that we picked together, and that was Settlers of Catan, the Cosmos game from Germany, made in 1995 by Klaus Tuber.
Here's the great old lady herself.
There it is right there. It's Mayfair Games produces it here in America. Will, tell us a little about Catan and what you like about it.
Well, I like that it's got very straightforward rules. So once you pick up those rules, you can just play and play and play. And like chess, there's a lot of different. There are different paths. There are different paths to victory. There's different strategies you can develop as you play and gain experience. And also, it doesn't take that long. That's it's almost a stereotype that like Euro style board games take forever to play. But you can play a really good game of Settlers of Catan in 45 minutes if everybody's got experience with it.
Right, and that's one of the games that I've had around my table for many years. I just picked up Star Trek Catan recently, which is an awesome way to do it. I'm trying to figure out how to put like Seafarers of Catan along with Star Trek Catan. Hadn't quite figured that out yet. So let's move on to the next game on the list, and this is one of my favorites. I've played this game since I was a little bitty kid. I have a newer printing of it right here, and that is the Sid Sackson classic Acquire. Acquire is one of my favorite games because it plays on my strengths very well. It plays on tile laying. I love those games. I love stocks and bonds games. One of my favorite bookshelf games was the old 3M classic stocks and bonds, just because of how chaotic and interesting it is. But I love Acquire. Mike, you're an old school gamer. Have you played Acquire before? And what were your experiences with it?
That's not one of my games. That's not one that I actually ever played. So I've heard only good things about it.
Right.
I'm gonna have to have you teach me how to play it now. I mean, it is one that I should try out, but I don't think I've ever played it. Have I? I don't think so.
I have. It's actually really good. I grew up with the old Avalon Hill version when it was a bookcase game, and man, those were some fun times. I mean, I was maybe 6 or 7 when my uncle taught me how to play that game. But it's kind of like Settlers of Catan in that the rules are pretty simple, and once you get a grasp on them, the game moves really fast. And like Catan, you're trying to like build like a path across the board,
right?
And so it's kind of interesting. It's not like a territory capture kind of thing. You're just trying to build a route, but it's like a hotel chain. So it's kind of abstract at the same time. So the tiles help with that. But I mean, it's one of those games. It's like it's fun and ruthless.
Totally ruthless. And just a hint for everyone out there: don't buy the current version of that Wizards of the Coast have put out under the Avalon Hill banner. It's complete cardboard chips. The board is cardboard. It's awful. Go to eBay, spend $30, $40, whatever, to get the original bookshelf game, or if you can find the version that I have, which is the 2004 printing, do that. It's well worth it. The cardboard pieces are awful and break down, so definitely want to avoid that. We have a couple up on our Facebook page. We asked some fans about their favorite games. We got some great responses. Mary says that her favorite game is Agricola, but her group doesn't like it. I've never played Agricola. Anybody have experience with that?
Regrettably, no. It's one of the games that I've been meaning to pick up for the past 2 years.
Yeah, I've seen it. I've seen a lot of people talk about it, but haven't played it myself. John Palmer says and agrees with Richard that chess is his favorite board game. So Richard, you're not alone in that. And let's move on with our next game. We're going to take Will's pick here of Arkham Horror, which is of course Fantasy Flight Games.
Yes, combines my two loves of board games and the Cthulhu mythos.
And I've played it once, but tell us a little bit about how it plays.
Well, it's really great. It's as close as you can get to playing Call of Cthulhu, the tabletop role-playing game, without actually playing it. It's a board game where every player takes on the role of an investigator that's trying to do investigations around the town of Arkham and other environments if you have the expansions, all as part of a plot, all to thwart the resurgence of one of the great old ones. And there's several different ones that affect the board in different ways. So the game can play out very differently each time you play it between different great old ones and different encounters you can have on the board. And one of the other reasons I really, really like it is that it's cooperative. Either everybody wins or everybody loses. Right. So once you get all the pieces out on the table, everybody is in it together, and everybody is working together, trying to manage resources and come up with strategies together to achieve a victory. And cooperative games are very, very rare. I very much appreciate that a game with this level of depth and complexity is still cooperative.
Right. And Mike,
that's
you
a
had a question.
game?
No, I believe it's licensed through Chaosium, but it's published by Fantasy Flight.
Yeah, they
okay.
used to do it. I actually have an original copy of with unpunched pieces of the original game. And I believe Chaosium did the old style when it was on cardstock.
And I've been playing and I have it right here, I've been playing Elder Sign, which is a version of Arkham Horror, basically, a little bit smaller and using dice in a different way for the mechanics. So I've been enjoying that a lot as well. Thanks, Will. Let's move on to Mike's second pick. Mike, you picked Squad Leader, Advanced Squad Leader, which was originally published by Avalon Hill. I did find out in my research that another group called Multiman Publishing is doing it now, and they're producing material. But tell us about Squad Leader and what it's about.
Well, it's a great game. It's a squad-level World War II board game. So basically, each counter represents either a squad of troops or a smaller unit. So a squad, a team, a single commander, a tank, a jeep, but something very, very fundamental. And the hexes on the board represent something like 20 meters each. So really, you're actually operating in a fairly finite area, even when you have a pretty big board spread out. But what makes it a really, really elegant game is that it's got a phenomenally detailed and complex rule system, but it indoctrinates you into the rules step by step. So you start off playing scenario 1, and you learn a certain number of rules. And then you move on to scenario 2, it adds a couple more things. So it's an elegant system, it's a well put together system, it's an intelligent system, it's a lot of fun to play. If you're not a fan of World War II, but you are a gamer, it's still a good game, it's still a lot of fun, and I think it's a good model for anyone who's interested in game design because of the way the game is put together. And I've always wondered about the name Advanced Squad Leader. If there's a squad leader out there, I don't know about it. I think it's always been called advanced squad leader.
No, there is a squad leader. I have both squad leader and advanced squad
Ooh.
leader.
Shut up, Richard. It was my turn to talk, wasn't it? Wasn't it? Whose turn was it? I mean, obviously, there would have to be a non-advanced one.
Yeah,
Anyway,
no.
but I started playing this in like 1982, and was it or was it not advanced squad leader by 1982?
No, they both were out at the same time.
You're through, Richard. You're through.
But
Go back to playing your advanced chess. Bitch. Anyway, it's a good game, and the funny thing about it is I played this game for 15 years, and I never got past the first box set. I had a couple of friends that I played it with. Whenever they would visit me or I would visit them, we'd play Advanced Squad Leader. So there were all sorts of supplements that came after. We never made it past the first box set in 15 years because there's just so much to it. But I give it a thumbs up. It's a classic game and a well done game.
Well, there you go. That was Mike's second pick. Just to do a quick advertisement and talk about what we're doing coming up, make sure to visit our website at d-infinity.net. We have lots of great content every week, lots of great stuff this week. So we're really excited to have you guys come over, create an account, interact with us. We'd love to talk to you. Also like to remind you about some upcoming shows that we have. Next week we're going to be welcoming Alyssa Fadden, who is part of the Torn Armor Kickstarter, a very cool miniatures-based game that's coming out. I was one of the first backers, and I was glad to be a part of it. So we're going to talk about that next week. Then I believe the following week we're going to be talking about how Avalon Hill changed the industry. So we're going to have another roundtable discussion about Avalon Hill and all the great stuff that they've done over the years. So make sure and tune in for that in 2 weeks. So back to the list. I'm going to go ahead and take this one with my second game, and that's Robo Rally. Robo Rally was made in 1994. It was designed by Richard Garfield and was published by Wizards of the Coast. It still is. Robo Rally is a game where you take on the role of a robot who is part of a game show on a factory floor, and you control the robot. You pick up weapons, you shoot other players, you push and pull them out of the way. It's very hectic and fun. I think one of my favorite things about it is the game really hasn't changed in 20 years almost. It's the rules are the same. They're very simple, but it also challenges you in a lot of ways. It has an interesting mechanic to move your robots. You have to think farther ahead, just like in chess. You have to think farther ahead. It's really good, and I really enjoy it. Will, do you have a comment on Robo Rally?
Yes, I've played. My younger brother Robert introduced me to Robo Rally. He has a copy, and one of the things I absolutely love about it is just kind of how true to like the theme of old school robotics it is. That the way you control your robot is you don't declare moves. You actually have a hand of cards with possible moves that you want to lay out in order. So you are, for all intents and purposes, programming your robot's future actions, and you want to come up with a combination that's going to get the robot where it needs to be and do what it needs to do, all while dealing with the hazards on the board. And like I'm old enough to remember punch card computing, and I love that there's a game that reflects that.
Yeah, and that's one of those real skill-based things where you have to think about all those moves and everybody around you, and it's an awesome game. One of my favorites, and it has been reprinted. The reprint is very good. It uses plastic miniatures instead of metal, but you can still paint them just like I did with mine. So it's very easy to find nowadays. So we're going to move on to our next pick, and we're going to take Richard's next pick of Memory. Richard, Memory is a game that's been around in 1,000 different ways, but tell us why you picked it as one of your top board games.
Well, it's one of those games that you kind of have to learn as a kid. I mean, it's a really important skill. And if you think about games like dominoes and poker and blackjack, it all defaults to memory. Like unless you're shuffling the cards every time after you deal out a hand in poker or blackjack, the cards are progressively getting to a smaller and smaller number, and so the combinations that are possible get smaller and smaller. So like the bets that you place and whatnot, those are, are influenced by all of those. So I mean that's why if people that have watched Poker After Dark or anything like that, if they've noticed that the players keep their cards face down even after they give up the hand, so that way the other players don't know what cards are left in the deck. So that's one of the ways that they control the way that people affect the game. So as a counterpart to chess, memory is a game about imperfect information, because you have no concept of what is in front of you. That's why you have to slowly turn over the tiles, and then you have to remember their locations. So you're trying to build a mental map of imperfect information in order to turn it into perfect information. But once you've turned it into perfect information, you remove it from play. So there's a couple of tricks that go into that, and that's something that's a vital skill that you use in almost every other game after you learn that.
While you were speaking, go ahead, Mike.
There's a really good game that uses all those mechanics you just described, that's published by a friend of ours, and it's called Dementalism. So I don't know how many of our listeners know artist and game designer Andy Hopp, but he came out about a year and a half ago with a game called Dementalism that uses all those mechanics, like you were describing. But it's an update on the theme, so I would strongly recommend that. And any of you who got a preview of the events we're running at Comic Palooza in May saw that we have Dementalism listed, and Andy's actually going to be running that for us at the convention.
Yep, that's right, and we're all excited about that. Oh, looks like Will has a copy there. Yeah.
Well, this is Low Life, the RPG that Dementalism is inspired by Andy Hopp.
Yep.
Right.
And of course, Andy will be with us at Comic Palooza coming up on Memorial Day weekend. So if you would like to meet us, we're going to all be there at Comic Palooza. So we're very excited about that. We're going to move on past memory here and talk about Will's second game, Pandemic, published by Z-Man Games back in 2008. Now, I just have one thing I want to say about Pandemic. I have played Pandemic 10 times, maybe. And I've never won, ever.
That's not uncommon. It took me about 3 playthroughs before I won, and that's one of the reasons I wanted this on to talk about this on the show. Pandemic is a very challenging game, and like Arkham Horror, it is cooperative, and because it's so challenging, the game can get really, really tense. And the premise of the game is that everybody playing is a specialist working for the Center for Disease Control, and 4 different diseases are erupting or showing up all over the Earth. And your goal is to find and manufacture a vaccine for all 4 diseases. And so you're traveling the world, you're fighting the disease where it crops up, you're gathering the resources you need to make the vaccinations, and also, playing event cards to give you special edges. All the while, the disease keeps spreading, and it keeps spreading faster and faster, and can outbreak, and there can be outbreaks where the disease just explodes out of the continent that it originated on. Cool. And it is tremendously fun, and everybody gets a unique role. So everybody gets a specialty, one special thing they can do. So as the game progresses, there's all sorts of wheeling and dealing between players so that everybody can get the best use out of their special abilities and the resources they have, so that everybody can get to that mutual victory, which is very difficult to get to.
I noticed something about the 2 games you picked, and we mentioned it here as well, that they're both cooperative.
Yep.
Is this something that you thought about specifically?
Not initially. I just noticed looking back on it that they were both cooperative, and I guess one of the reasons I do like cooperative games is that either everybody wins and everybody's really happy they won, or everybody loses, but we still had a fun time playing. And so, with some of the games we've talked about tonight, and with a lot of games where only one, or where fewer than all the players can win or lose. If you sink a certain amount of time into the game, the longer the game goes on, the more deeply people get into it, and
Right.
the victories and defeats can just be just crushing, and that can kind of put a sour note on an evening's gaming depending on who you're playing with. But I find that generally that just flat out does not happen with with cooperative games.
Right.
I've never had someone play a cooperative game and felt like their time was wasted, even when there was a horrible, horrible defeat.
Right, and cooperative games have been, I've been playing a lot of those recently. The aforementioned Elder Sign. I've also been playing the Lord of the Rings living card game from Fantasy Flight, which is a lot of fun. I love those cooperative games, and it's especially good because I can play with my wife and we can do something together and we're not competing. So that's one of the things I enjoy about it the most. So that was the last of ours, but we do have one final on the list, which is kind of a group pick, and I'm going to lean on Will here since I haven't played it before, but that's Twilight Imperium.
Yes!
By Fantasy Flight Games. My friendly local comic shop owner, Jeremy Bullock, calls it the most ridiculous game ever made. So tell us a little bit about Twilight Imperium.
Okay, it's kind of the ultimate space opera board game, and one thing I'm going to say, if you look at this, you're going to assume that it's the most complicated game you've ever played. I can assure you it is not. If you sit down to play Twilight Imperium, you are not playing one ridiculously complicated game. You're playing 12 very simple games, but swapping out which one you're playing at any given time. And it's ridiculously fun. You get to build a map of the galaxy. There's warfare. There's gathering resources. There's politics. But the things that really stand out about it, one is that there's a phase during the game where you can actually vote on things that can actually change the rules of the game as you're playing. The other thing I love about it is that to win the game, you have to balance diplomacy, warfare, and trade. If you specialize in one of those areas, you are going to lose. I've never seen anyone win the game purely through conquest. I've never seen anyone win it through trade. I've never seen anyone win it through politics. I have only seen victory happen with people who balance those things really, really well.
And it's kind of like Settlers of Catan in that regard. I mean, you can't just pick a single strategy to win, because like if you go for longest road, great, you got 2 extra points until somebody like builds a little bit longer road, or like they get all like more knights than you, and then so that point advantage is wiped out. So I mean, you have to. I think the Twilight Imperium is one of those games where you have to choose to be either really aggressive or really defensive, because there's no real middle ground in that regard. But the strategy to get there requires that you balance your resources in terms of spending them on politics, trade, and on warfare.
Exactly. So in Twilight, it's a huge box. There's lots of plastic pieces. I've seen it played a dozen times. Jeremy keeps trying to trick me into playing. I haven't fallen for it yet. So
it's worth it if you can sink 6 hours into it. It's really worth it. That is, I guess that's the only. I don't consider this a flaw, but I know a lot of people do consider it a flaw. It's not a game you can play quickly.
Looks like you went muted there for a moment, Will, on the last bit there.
I would say that
okay.
it feels like
so we will move on. We have one last game here. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah.
We have one last game.
I was saying that you have to.
We keep talking over each other, Will. Go ahead.
Okay, what I'm going to say is that you need, it takes about 6 hours to play if everybody at the table has experience with the game, and about 8 if there's 2 or more new players. So you do have to sort of set aside a chunk of your day to really play it. Now, I don't consider that a flaw because I like investing time in games, but as a result, it's not a game you can play casually.
Like, say, like Advanced Civilization, an old Avalon Hill game, which takes 12 hours to play. So we have one last game on our list. Our honorable mention is Diplomacy, which was created in 1954 by Games Research originally. It was designed by Alan B. Calmer. Alan died on February 25th of 2013, so I think it's good to pay respects to a game designer who has passed. But Mike, this is one that you brought up to our attention. Tell us a little about what Diplomacy is and your experience with it.
Well, one thing that makes diplomacy interesting, a couple of things make it interesting. One, it's been around forever. It's a classic game that came out a long, long time ago, but it doesn't have a combat component to it. It's a game that is won through other means. And that's interesting because it's often said that warfare is, what is it, Richard? You get this better than I do. Warfare is the
Warfare is
represents a failure of diplomacy or whatever. So it approaches the idea of a competitive game from a different point of view, which I think is interesting and positive. But there have been a number of games that have then been spun off from it. So, for example, Avalon Hill did a wonderful game called Machiavelli.
Yeah.
And who is more of the quintessential diplomat than Machiavelli? So they took the whole concept of diplomacy, which was a pretty generic concept, and then they actually specialized it and made it into a game set during the Italian Renaissance, and they did that with a couple of other games as well. So it's a nice mechanic. It's an interesting game, and it's a good example of an alternate way of structuring a game.
And diplomacy is the only game I've ever gotten into a fist fight over.
Yeah, I've heard it's a game that
can... talking about how it's not about warfare.
Right. What's that, Will?
Well, I've heard it's a game that can end friendships.
Yes. That friendship was definitely done after the punches were thrown. Richard, have you had any experience with diplomacy?
No, sadly, it's one of the few games from that particular era that I have not been able to play. But it's one of those things that it's influenced so many games that it's surprising that it's not more ubiquitous in terms of the other games that people talk about, like Risk and Scrabble and Monopoly and stuff like that. I mean, it's at the heart of most of these newer games, even like Twilight Imperium, where you have a diplomatic option. So, right. I mean, yeah, it's one of those things. I think one of the reasons why it has a tendency to ruin friendships is because you realize just how ruthless people can be without resorting to violence.
It's very true. Just a couple. You said you never played it before, but just one of the tidbits that I found in my research: diplomacy was the first commercial game to be used in play by mail. So you can play things by mail, and that's a cool thing. And it was also one of the first games to have its own fanzines. So what we have D Infinity magazine. That's essentially a high production value fanzine. So this is very much our predecessor's game. So we do appreciate diplomacy, and we honor Alan for his work on the game and all the games that he produced over the years. And that's going to do it for us tonight, but we're going to go to our last word, and we're going to start with Mike. Mike, what is your last word for the evening, sir?
My last word is congratulations, Richard T. Balsley. Your Castle Builder Volume 4 Towers came out at 12:01 this morning. And last time I looked, it was number 41 on DriveThruRPG.com's top 100 list. So congratulations for that, and people should check it out. It's $1.99, and it tells you how to use towers in your RPG games. So check it out. Good book.
It's very good. I got a chance to read it last night, and it stacks up well with the other ones. So Richard, how about you? What's your last word for the evening?
I would say play some chess. I mean, seriously, it's one of those games like I learned how to play it when I was 4. So if you could teach it to a kid, if you can teach it to a little kid, you're going to teach them a lot of valuable skills. As much as Mike hates the game, they're important skills anyway. Math, strategy, math, position. They start learning coordinating things and stuff like that. So it's really good for a lot of things.
So play more chess. My last word for tonight is to talk about my mustache. I got a message from someone who said, "What happened to your beard? You're not bearded anymore." I've talked about it before, but my comic shop is having a mustache growing contest this March, and I am definitely winning. So I'm very happy about that. So I'll be getting my Doctor Strange trade paperback in a couple of weeks. So I'm looking forward to that. And Will, your last word for the evening.
My last word is if people show enough interest, I will go ahead and bring my components for a board game I've been tinkering with called Relier Rises, a Cthulhu Mythos board game. If y'all are good, we will be able to play test it at Comic Palooza.
Awesome.
That's
I would
pretty
relish
sweet.
doing that.
Excellent.
Absolutely. So we'll look forward to that. So that's going to wrap it up for volume number 19. Remember to join us back next week for number 20, where we welcome Alyssa Fadden, who's an artist and cartographer, been around the industry for a long time. So we're really excited to have her on. So on behalf of William Thrasher, on behalf of Richard Balsley, and on behalf of Michael Varhola, my name is, of course, Robert Gruber. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next week.